back, everybody. We are talking about a lot of things today. We just spent some time discussing myths on standardized tests. And now we're going to talk about merit money. And joining me for that conversation is my colleague, Alex Gonzalez, who's also a former financial aid officer at the University of Portland. Hi, Alex.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I love to have this conversation. We have it every year
Mhm.
because now is the time as students are starting to hear back from colleges and they're starting to get, um, letters of acceptance that are sometimes coming with offers of scholarships, which really are discounts that the colleges are offering to you. And
Yeah.
we refer to it as merit money, right? So it's happening in my own house right now. And I do believe that a lot of times, first of all, a lot of times it's just this wonderful, thrilling thing, which as well it should be. Anytime a school is saying, hey, welcome in. Oh, and by the way, we're going to give you some money. So we're going to make it an even cheaper prospect for you, given that college is typically expensive.
Yeah.
That's always a great thing, right? Um, but sometimes that merit money may not be enough. So you may have been banking on merit money, but maybe it wasn't what you had hoped, or you weren't really sure what to expect. But now that you see it in black and white and you look at how much you're going to have to pay, it's maybe not as generous as you had thought it was initially. And what I don't think a lot of people realize is you might be able to ask for more. So what's your thought on this? For starters, can you ask for more?
Oh, definitely, definitely. And you should think about asking.
Mhm.
And it might be based on right now you've celebrated, you've gotten that acceptance letter, you saw that nice healthy scholarship
Yep.
involved, but also kind of when is the time to do that as well? So like right away or midway through your decision process, at the very last hour as you hit submit before May 1st. Well, probably not. Um, but
Yep.
but there is some timing to this, and colleges know that. We want to share the information with you as well as what does that timing look like.
Right, right.
Um, so, so yeah, but definitely, it is a good time to ask.
All right, so where do you start? So is there something that you would recommend families do before they contact the college?
Yeah, the preparation. So there's a couple of things that when I'm working with families, where I'm going to guide them. One is kind of research the college's scholarship process. So college financial aid offices are going to be very clear of like the different types of financial aid. And oftentimes we refer to financial aid as need-based,
Hmm.
tied to families' finances, but also merit scholarships are a part of that. It reduces the cost, it helps families across the board. It's just tied to academics.
Right.
And so making sure that a college has that. What is their process in awarding that information? I've had some colleges award admissions process, award admissions acceptance letters, and then they delay their scholarship program until yeah, until
We're experiencing that. Yeah.
and I've seen it more and more because a lot of times colleges are looking at interest as well. Students, they were in a pandemic, they were applied to a lot of different colleges, I would say more than others. And so colleges are cautious about those scholarship dollars. So knowing what the college scholarship process is, um, reaching out and asking if there's additional merit scholarships or department-based scholarships or what that timeline looks like. That is communication. You're building that relationship. We might have, I don't know, I worked at a college that, in some cases it wasn't a big deal, but it had some influence. If a student was in communication, asking questions about our biology department, signing up for accepted student events, to get an idea to see themselves at that college rather than just looking at that bill and saying, am I going to go here because this scholarship is attracting me?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's interesting stuff. Who would you call? You said, reaching out about departmental scholarships and things like that. Is this a conversation with the financial aid office? Is this outreach to individual departments? What's your advice there?
Yeah, yeah. Um, I have students and families start with their admissions counselor,
Okay.
directed to their region. So that person is going to be the advocate. I remember back in when I was in the scholarship admissions financial aid office, we would have our annual meetings and we'd talk about our regions that we represented or supported through this process. And it was always a great opportunity to share, oh, well, New Mexico, we got this many students, or Western Oregon, we got this many students, and in this process, we're trying to advocate. We want you to attend. We want to do as much as we can to make that happen. And sometimes that
Right.
might be reviewing scholarships or increasing those awards, laying out what's available. And so identifying that person, especially early on, will create that opportunity, because if they have the ability to change it themselves, they will do it. If they need supporting documents, they're going to let you know what they need, and then go to their review board or their dean or their meeting. But if you go straight to the top, and I've had this with students and families, they go, we're going to go to the president of the university and say, we're the best,
Right.
we have to come here. You didn't look at our application right. Then, that puts that person, that advocate in your corner, kind of pushes them out of the way.
Right.
That's not the decision maker either. Even though that they're the president of the university or the dean, they would come to me.
Right. They're going to bounce it right back to the
Yeah,
person who's
like,
been trying to advocate for you, right?
yeah, yeah. And that puts you in that doesn't make a healthy relationship. And you got to think about that as there's two people on this side. They both have similar goals. It's just, okay, how can we make those things compromise and move forward?
Right. I think that's such a good point. I mean, especially at the schools that are offering generous merit awards, typically those admissions officers are not really gatekeepers so much as they are trying to help both the university and the student applicants to each achieve their goals. So you put it really well, right? You have the same goal in the end.
Yeah,
They want the students they admit to attend the institution, and you were admitted and you want to attend the institution. So everybody wants the same thing, and that's why that person is always going to be, your good, to your point, a really good advocate and a good first step. So I
yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
that feedback. In terms of timing and how this
yeah.
should unfold, talk to us about that timeline piece.
Yeah, I typically try to break it down is that knowing that right now, I know that we're clamoring, we're getting some information, like you were saying, your family's going through this process.
Yes.
You've heard from some universities very early, you've seen a financial aid or an estimate package of everything, and others, it's crickets.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, what do I do? It is a place of waiting. So right now, it's a great time to kind of gather that information. January, February, reaching out, seeing if you've missed scholarships, or
Hmm.
sometimes those department scholarships aren't really working with the admissions office or the financial aid office. They kind of have their own grant. They kind of uh, think of it as their kind of pool of money that they're attracting students. And so maybe you reach out and they'll go, okay, there's some additional scholarships or rounds of scholarships, so you're aware. Also, you applied back in the fall with your
Right.
junior information, maybe early test scores, or maybe you had an uptick with your AP classes, in your GPA, or you finished well, or got an award during this time. So providing new information
Right.
is great as well. So that's a time to work with the university, saying, "Hey, I got some new information. Will this impact my scholarship award?" Um, we're interested. It's also a time where you're paring down your list as well from that, you
Yeah,
know, I mean, I remember when we were talking about 6 schools, and now we're talking about 8 and even 10 to a certain extent. Or
right.
sometimes I talk to families with more. And this is your process to bring that down as well. So right now it's kind of new information, being prepared, gathering that information. But when it shifts to March and April, that's when you're kind of in that decision chair
Right.
where you have a little bit more agency. You're rating your interest of the schools that you have. You have all the information, most likely at that point. And now you're kind of comparing your offers. You have a better idea of, how much does this cost versus this. You're weighing the value of this university versus this university. And now you're coming up maybe a little bit more aggressive by saying, hey, can you erase this? We're making our
Right.
decision. You have 15 days, you have a month. Again, a day for everything and all the wheels to turn to change your opportunity, your scholarship opportunity. Not enough time,
No.
but not enough time. But in that month in those months, that is reasonable. March, April, those are those times to really kind of maybe push. They might ask you for new information. They might ask you to file a financial aid form.
Hmm.
That was a rule in our office, is that if you did not fill out one, we wouldn't entertain an award.
Mm.
So that could be something. Or we would potentially ask, if it was a competitive program, where else are you
Yeah.
comparing?
Right.
Especially for certain majors. I remember nursing, engineering, computer science. We would want to know, who else have you had? So being prepared to present that information as well.
Right. So, in other words, I've gotten this award from this institution, which might compete with your institution, and therefore maybe you'd be a little bit more willing to budge on that. And obviously, some colleges yes, and some colleges no, and
Yeah.
but there's no harm, and but you
No.
do need to be prepared to show it. You can't,
Yeah.
you can't say, well, we got this award, and not be truthful, because the college may very well say to you, can you show us that? And then we might be able to match it. And then you have to say, oh, well, I don't really have that in hand to show to you. So
Yeah.
you want
Yeah.
to be careful on that front.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else that you'd want to share with our listeners about the whole merit process in terms of negotiating for more money, if that's possible?
Yeah. I think a little bit of it is that, come in with some realistic expectations. You're not going to see large swings in that increase, unless there's really new information. So
Right.
new academic information, or there was a portion missing from your application. And it is really important to do this in January and February. We had a deadline of March 5th,
Mm,
March 15th, where we were kind of like, okay, no more new information, nothing's, our admissions was pretty much closed at that point. We had
right.
given fair enough time from high school counselors and recommenders to bring in information, and so that we had kind of that hard cutoff. So being aware that there might be an internal date, so making sure that you are kind of putting your front foot forward. Once you get those semester grades, you might reach out with those semester grades, being active in that process.
Yeah.
Um,
Awesome.
yeah.
Okay. Alex, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining us and talking through this today.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Well, we are going to take another break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking to those in the audience who are a little bit younger, right? So, parents of juniors, sophomores, maybe even freshmen, students who are those ages. And we're going to be talking about developing a list of your best fit colleges. So, don't go away.